Have you ever wondered why some people who make a ton of money just never seem to get ahead, while others get richer and richer? Well, it's something called the wealth paradox. It's this huge gap between looking rich and actually being rich. And today, we're going to dive into the money traps that keep so many people running on a financial treadmill. And we'll look at the exact mindset the wealthy use to break free.
All right, take a look at this. On the one hand, you've got what most people think of as wealth, the fancy car, the designer bag. But on the other hand, you have the things that actually build wealth: stocks, businesses, things that grow. And right there, that confusion between the two, that's where pretty much every financial trap is set.
And that brings us to the first and maybe the most important distinction we have to make. Your income is not your net worth. See, a high income is great, but it's really just the speed of the treadmill you're on. Real wealth, that comes from what you own, the assets that are out there working for you even when you're sleeping. Which leads to this really fundamental choice you have with every single dollar that comes into your life. Are you going to let it go towards spending, where poof, it's gone forever? Or are you going to put it towards investing, where it actually has a chance to grow and multiply?
And really, when you boil it all down, it's this. Are you using your money to fund a lifestyle that just constantly drains you? Or are you using it to acquire assets, building a solid financial foundation one brick at a time?
So this gets us to the big question, right? Why do so many people feel completely stuck financially even when they get a raise? It doesn't seem to matter what they earn. Let's really break down the mechanics behind this because it's a super common frustration. Okay, let's get into trap number one, the illusion of affluence. Now, this is a tricky one. This is where we buy things that we think are assets, but in reality, they're actually wealth-destroying machines. And the perfect example of this, a brand new car. And what's just shocking here is how fast you lose money. A new car isn't just a depreciating asset, it's a wealth destroyer. Think about it. It loses something like 20% of its value the literal second you drive it off the dealership lot. So that $50,000 car that's supposed to be a symbol of your success, it's instantly worth $10,000 less before you've even made your first payment. Insane. But believe it or not, the real cost is actually way more staggering than that. We have to talk about opportunity cost. Let's say you have a pretty typical car payment, maybe $700 a month. What if instead of paying that, you invested it in a simple S&P 500 index fund? Well, over 30 years, that could have grown to over $1.5 million. That's what you're really giving up. That's the future freedom you are trading for a machine that's losing value every single day. And this whole idea ties into something you might have heard of: loud luxury versus quiet luxury. It's really easy to fall for logomania, the need to have big, visible brands to show people you've made it. But the truly wealthy, they often go for stealth wealth. They're focused on things like craftsmanship, quality, and durability, things that don't need a flashy logo to prove their worth. All right, let's move on to this second trap, which kind of builds on the first one: the high cost of debt. And the real danger here isn't just the debt itself, it's how normal it's become to carry high-interest consumer debt. So it's really important to define what we're talking about here. Consumer debt is when you borrow money to buy things for personal consumption. Furniture, electronics, maybe a vacation. It's not the same as the debt the wealthy sometimes use. They use debt as leverage to buy assets that actually make them money. And that difference is absolutely critical. And the numbers here just show you why this is such a devastating trap. The average interest rate on a credit card, it's somewhere between 18 and 25%. I mean, think about that. When you're paying that kind of interest, it's pretty much mathematically impossible to get ahead. It's like you're trying to fill up a bucket that has a giant hole in the bottom.
Let me give you a really concrete example. Let's say you buy a new living room set for $2,000 and put it on a credit card. If you only make the minimum payments, you could easily end up paying over $3,700 for it in the end. So you're paying almost double for something that's losing value from the moment you bring it home.
Okay, the next trap is a little more subtle, but it can be just as damaging. I'm talking about the danger of small leaks. This is all about the convenience tax and what's called subscription creep. All these little things that quietly suck money out of your account without you really even noticing. And, these small, reoccurring expenses are almost more dangerous than a big one-time purchase because they fly under the radar. That gym membership you never use, the 5 different streaming services, that daily coffee, none of them seem like a big deal on their own. But man, do they add up. And they add up to a pretty shocking number. When you actually sit down and do the math, these minor habits can easily drain anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 from your budget every single year. That's a huge amount of money that could have been invested and working for you. Which, of course, leads us to what might be the single biggest trap of them all, the failure to actually put your capital to work. We're talking about the failure to invest.
You know, a lot of people think that saving money is the responsible thing to do, and it is, but they often confuse saving with investing, and they are not the same thing. Let's just look at the massive difference between saving $500 a month for 40 years versus investing that exact same amount. Okay, so if you just save that money, maybe stick it in a savings account, after 40 years, you'll have $240,000. Now, that's not nothing. It's a respectable amount of money, but your money hasn't done any work for you. It's just sat there. Now, get ready for this. If you had invested that same $500 a month into something like the S&P 500, based on its historical average returns, you wouldn't have $240,000. You'd have over $2.6 million. That right there is the magic of compounding. It is, without a doubt, the single biggest secret to building real wealth. So now that we've walked through these traps, you can start to see that they all really come from the same place. They stem from one root cause. So let's talk about the mindset that actually builds wealth and how to escape the one ultimate trap that ties all of these together. And that ultimate trap is called lifestyle inflation. You might have heard it called lifestyle creep. It's a really simple idea. As your income goes up, your spending goes up right along with it. Every raise, every bonus, it just gets swallowed up by a bigger house payment, a fancier car, more expensive vacations. This quote right here just sums it up perfectly. If your spending rises every time your income rises, you're not actually getting ahead. You're running in place. That's all it is. You're just on a fancier, more expensive treadmill. Real financial progress, real wealth, is built in the gap between what you earn and what you spend. So when you think about it, it all boils down to one simple but really powerful choice. And every single financial decision you make is an answer to this one question. Are you choosing current status, or are you choosing future freedom?